Alrighty, so exhaust table worked perfectly. I was able to cut all my welds that were previously holding everything together, re-welded some parts. I had one point where I accidentally put too much heat to this and it actually pulled the pipe in on this side. So I just used my hydraulic, what it's called, porta power. Here, I'll show you what they are. In case you don't know what a porta power is, you need to buy one. A porta power is a hydraulic jack that you can use to spread things apart, or you can use it to squeeze things together. They are not too much money. This one is a 10-ton porta power. I got it from Princess Auto, so that's essentially the Harbor Freight of Canada. So I used that to spread the pipes that had previously pulled together from the heat on the weld. So I separated these expansion joints because however these exhaust headers are manufactured, the driver's side was sticking that way just a slight amount further than this one. So if these things were perfectly level or the exact same length, then I'd either be short or too long. So I allowed the sleeve to act as like my fine adjustment on it. So currently I do have a C-clamp because I am spacing it out by 1/4 of an inch. I have these rubber spacers. They're actually bushings. I forget what, pure energy or something like that. Let's see what they're called. Oh, energy suspension, that's what they're called. Yeah, right here. Energy suspension. Part number. What do we got there? Can you see that? So, all those are, they're little rubber spacers like this. This is actually what I have my truck mounted on. So I have these, they sit right here on my frame, front and back. And then I have a bolt that runs through that and holds it down. So my cab is very rigid and very solid. It's fastened to this pretty well. These are body bushings. So, where am I at? Exhaust, the mufflers are actually just sitting in there right now. I do need to go get the appropriate exhaust clamps. So I sliced it down the depth of how far these are supposed to go in, that red line, to allow it to float how it's supposed to on this pipe for the alignment portion of it. So I will have a hole that I have to weld up on 4 sides on each one. So 16 holes that I have to fill with weld. So a little bit extra work, but it'll look better in the end. These, I retained my original mounts, but you can see how they're off. So they're kind of cockeyed. I'm cool with that. It doesn't look bad as long as they're both uniform, and they are. So that was from my previous measurement. I eliminated that mount on that portion of the frame. It's over there, sitting there, and another one sitting, you can't really see it over there. There's a hole there, my finger was right over top of it. So yeah, this frame, I designed it with 3 inches of travel. So I will have a bushing there to prevent it from, I guess it's a bump stop is what it is. So I will have a bushing. I have 3 inches of travel. I got nice coilovers in there. This is my pride and joy. This actually turned out very well. So my exhaust tips, I use those little rubber bushings. They're 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch is a great amount of space, I think. So I put them in there, squeezed them tight, put one in there, squeezed it tight. Had these, formed them to sit around the frame. And then I basically sat it where it was sitting, just kind of on its own weight across here. I marked a line of that height. I made it uniform across. I measured the distance between the highest point on these, and that I used to space these. So once I had that width, I actually divided it in 2 and went off half that width to each point, measuring from center. Punched it, drilled it like a tap hole, a pilot hole, I drilled it out, tapped it or threaded it, and then threw those in. So those are solid. They do need to be fully welded because they just have a tack weld on either side. But yeah, the spacer. So I installed this spacer, designed it. I actually got my older brother to design that logo for me. And I gotta say, that logo is beautiful. He also had these portions fabricated for me. Did very well. They fit perfectly around the pipe. I just have them tack welded. I don't know if I'm gonna fully weld them or not. It is kind of like a structural piece a little bit, but he further suggested that I should put a light behind that, so I'm gonna do that. I think that'll look cool. So yeah, these look pretty sweet, nice and formed. They got about 3/16 of a gap. So I should have, I won't have a ton of room. There's a chance that it might rub by the time I powder coat these or Cerakote this and paint this. It might close up that gap. We'll see. Hopefully I don't have that much paint on. Yeah, the bumper, I actually, before I boxed this in, I fastened my bumper on, I made it level, and then I welded the nuts on the back side of the frame. So these nuts, you only have to put one in, or these bolts. Then I placed this cross member on. So that is 0.125. Actually, no, that's not. That's 3/16. I think that's 3/16 steel. Yeah, and it's a 2x4 or 2x3 or something like that. So yeah, I do need to curve these up. That'll look cool. I'm gonna have to fill this gap right here. I'm just going to pie cut behind on this edge, and then I'll just fold it up and weld it in. It'll look good. The fuel tank is going to be plumbed out the side of the box. I'm actually going to have an exposed, you'll see it, it'll look sweet. Yeah, it's coming along. I have to weld on my brake caliper brackets. So I had these brackets made, so I just have to weld those on. Lots of little welding is what I've discovered. My triangulated 4-link came with 1/8 steel. I got rid of all those and I actually made, again, 3/16 steel. Forget what these would be called, tabs. I did not realize that on the bottom though. See how thin that is? So I'm actually gonna fish plate the backside of that and make it a little bit stronger. I could probably custom it. No, okay. So, have to do final welding on the cross member. I reshaped my trans cross member. That's nice and solid. Again, my fuel line runs up here. I have it tee in, jumps across. I have a little bit of a gap, not tons. Don't really need much. Runs into each fuel rail. The passenger side fuel rail is actually capped. See that? And the driver's side has a local fuel pressure gauge on it. So if I'm ever troubleshooting my own vehicle, I can tell what the fuel pressure is. She's coming along. I think this thing's going to be beautiful. Flat plate, followed by that 1/4-inch spacer, followed by the floor is actually 1x2 square tubing with a sheet of 1/8 steel across the top of it, 16 gauge. So if you wanted that dimension, those heights, that's how you lay your cab flat on the chassis, the frame rail. I'll try to finish this old girl so everyone can see what it's gonna look like. Tune in, subscribe to my YouTube channel, please. I appreciate it.